Okay, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are completely tearing apart a deeply entrenched assumption in the corporate world, specifically when it comes to IT recruitment. You know the story, right? We've all seen the insanely high failure rate in tech hiring. It's like, how often does a candidate who looks absolutely perfect on paper end up walking out the door after just 6 months, even after you've offered them all the beanbag chairs and free snacks a startup can buy? Well, we're going to look at this through a really clean, minimal system diagram approach to figure out exactly what happens when our predictive models for hiring talent are just fundamentally misaligned with actual human psychology. So let's dive right into this widely accepted, yet honestly, deeply flawed HR assumption. If you walk up to almost any modern recruiter right now, they are going to tell you that the ultimate secret to landing and keeping top IT talent is offering a flexible schedule. It's treated as the holy grail metric of job choice effectiveness. The working assumption is that procedural comfort, the freedom to pick your own hours or work from your couch, is the primary thing validating a job for a candidate. But what if treating flexibility as the ultimate proof of a good job is actually destroying our ability to predict successful hire? I want to abruptly disrupt that whole assumption with just one number, 0.1684. This is a statistical correlation pulled from a massive global study. We're talking 191 IT specialists across 44 countries and 10 different languages. And this study used the spiral dynamics framework, which is basically a system that maps out stages of human psychological development. So specifically, this 0.1684 represents a statistically significant positive link between the orange psychological stage. Think of this as the mindset of the achiever, the pure strategist, the scaling entrepreneur, and the job choice factor of project and responsibilities. It tells a completely fascinating story that directly contradicts everything we've been told about flexibility. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why that standard HR assumption totally fails. When that hyperachieving, strategic orange mindset looks at a job offer, they enthusiastically embrace factors that are strictly results-oriented. High salary? Yep, that's a strong positive correlation of 0.2043. Project and responsibilities? Also positive at 0.1684. But here is the massive twist. The flexible schedule sits at a negative 0.1796. You heard that right. The orange stage literally actively rejects it. To this highly strategic mindset, flexibility isn't some awesome reward. It's actually viewed as non-strategic comfort. It might even signal inefficiency to them, like something that's just going to get in the way of achieving concrete results. So what we're actually seeing here is a fundamental shift. As the orange value system strengthens within a specific person or a team, the way they validate their career choices moves completely away from flexibility preferences and snaps directly into a purely results-focused lens. They literally use strategic optimization to validate their choices. Now, in the hyper-competitive world of IT hiring, this means that effectiveness and the chance for measurable achievement completely and totally outweigh procedural comfort. So if you are out there trying to lure an orange stage IT specialist with a promise of, hey, you can work whenever you want, well, you are speaking a language they actively dismiss. But let's move out a bit, because it's not just that the orange stage rejects flexibility. Totally different psychological stages actually validate the exact same IT job factors through uniquely different lenses. Take the blue stage, for instance, which values order and rules. For them, salary equals stability, showing a massive positive correlation of 0.2809. But it goes even further. The green stage validates their choices through management and collective care with a positive 0.2665. Meanwhile, the yellow stage correlates highly with data science and contextual fit at 0.2269. It is the exact same job, but the validation logic is fundamentally different for each. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to map out the immense complexity of these 7 core psychological stages, which are also called vMEMEs. You've got purple, which is seeking tribal belonging, blue, relying on procedural duty, and red, demanding power autonomy. We've already seen orange demand strategic optimization, but then right next to that, you have green requiring relational authenticity, yellow looking for systemic calibration, and turquoise seeking holistic purpose alignment. When you step back and look at this sheer diversity of human motivation, you immediately realize why a blanket assumption based purely on one factor, like, oh, everyone just wants flexibility, is totally doomed to misfire. So what actually happens to a company when we get this wrong? Well, when companies stubbornly prioritize procedural comfort over the things that truly validate a driven candidate, those vital results-oriented signals weaken. When evaluations confuse simple work-life balance with someone's actual capacity to coordinate and execute, the trust systems just break down. The organization is essentially telling its absolute most driven people that it values their comfort way more than their capacity to win. At that point, the company and the candidate are practically living in two totally different realities. We can actually trace this step by step as a systemic escalation. Think of it like a corporate butterfly effect. First, it starts with misaligned flexibility validation. Because the wrong metric is prioritized, strategic optimization begins to erode. Those driven people, they disengage. This splinters your team goals into what we call career choice fragmentation. To compensate for the mess, the company culture leans into what it knows, which just deepens its comfort rigidity. And finally, the whole system collapses. Your metrics completely lose predictive validity. You basically have zero idea who will succeed or fail because your measurements are entirely divorced from the reality of human psychology. So, the crucial point is, how do we actually fix this massive blind spot before the whole system collapses? Well, we use something called the Dynamic Programming Model, or DPM. Now, this isn't just some abstract management theory. It is a rigorous mathematical framework utilizing 13,000 real-world correlations to integrate all that complex human psychology we just talked about directly into actionable business algorithms. It literally takes the fuzzy, soft stuff of human feelings and turns it into a hard, predictive science. It's about calculating what is essentially the algebra of conscience. It shifts management and recruitment entirely away from gut instinct and moves it toward precise forecasting, where your predictions actually rely on accurate validation modeling. And what's truly revolutionary is how we can interact with this kind of data today. Just take a look at interfaces like the SD Navigator. This leverages a massive 2025 to 2026 software trend known as AI vibe coding. Basically, this means these incredibly complex interfaces aren't manually coded line by line anymore by an engineer. Instead, users literally just talk to large language models like Claude Code or Cursor in plain English to build the apps. It allows you to seamlessly model those 13,000 correlations we just talked about. You can tweak variables and predict exactly how a specific management action will impact a team. To prove just how accessible this predictive modeling has actually become compared to those old, broken HR systems, consider the prompt that brings up the exact data we've been looking at. All it took was typing this: "Show me orange stage career choice validation patterns of IT specialists' job offers." That is it. That one simple sentence commands the AI to instantly generate a visualization showing how strategic optimization rejects non-strategic comfort while fully embracing results-oriented factors. It covers everything from project variables to data science and sales. It makes navigating the incredibly complex psychology of your workforce basically as easy as asking a quick question. We've covered a ton of ground today, exploring how hidden psychological wiring dictates behavior in ways that standard metrics completely miss. But I want to leave you with this provocative final thought, a real question to challenge your entire approach to talent acquisition. Look at your own systems right now and ask yourself, what actually breaks when career choice validation for IT specialists stops measuring flexibility preferences and starts measuring strategic optimization signals? Because when you finally shift your lens from comfort to true effectiveness, absolutely everything changes. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep questioning those assumptions.